stop, stick around, come through and dig the sound of the fly brown 6060 cycle. Who thought hits around?
Welcome to another exciting episode of Wind Down with Kev. Thank you for taking time out of your busy day to watch us on live stream, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, wherever you're tuning in. We appreciate you. Special thanks to everyone that has already subscribed to follow us on YouTube to Wind Down with Kev. And thanks in advance for those of you that are going to enjoy the awesome content that we're creating today. Please remember to click and subscribe. We can't do what we're trying to do without you. Also, big thanks to my sponsors, Carol Media and Canopy Connect. Talk to them for all things digital, all things social. That being said, we have a wonderful episode for you today. We are still on our 50 agents, 50 podcasts, 50 states journey. And today we go to the great state of Wyoming. We have a phenomenal guest, a 15-year, highly successful all-state agent. She won all the awards. She helped other agents. She left Allstate and came back to maintain her Allstate community. And now she's one of the branding queens in the company. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in giving a warm Wind Down with Kev welcome to Casey Kuckert.
Wow, thank you, Kevin. I mean, you know how to make a girl feel special. So thank you for that intro.
Well, thank you, Casey. But talk to the people. Tell them something about you that I didn't include in my introduction.
Let's see, something about you. Well, I'm all things business, branding, social, all the stuff. So you included all of that. I guess a fun fact about me is I'm a grandma of 7. So I have 7 littles that keep me busy. I have 4 that are granddaughters. So I'm like trying to create this legacy of like bringing them into all of my female entrepreneur community and stuff going on. So that's a little bit of a fun fact, I guess, about me.
Casey, you're going to make the people fact check me. They're going to look at you. They're going to say she's beautiful and she is not the grandmother of 7. You're going to make people fact check me. Then they're going to, we're in a cancel culture right now. They're going to throw me off, Casey. So we will see. But Casey, before we get into the fun stuff, before we talk insurance and all things insurance, Wyoming is one of about 13 to 15 states that I've never been to. So please educate me and my audience. Tell us some fun facts about Wyoming.
First of all, it's a bucket list state. So you definitely need to come and visit us here in Wyoming. Some of the fun places that I love is, of course, Jackson Hole, Yellowstone. That's a must see. And the Grand Tetons, all of that area is so beautiful. I love going in the spring because there's so many animals out and they're all having their babies. So you see, baby bears and deer and elk and all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's just a great place to just really like dive into nature and see. It's beautiful. Sometimes you're looking at something right in front of you. It's like, I can't even imagine that I'm looking at this. It's like, so, postcard picture perfect. So a great state to be. Very cold in the winter. So I like jumping down into southern Utah to warm up in the winter as I get older. But yeah, it's a great state and very, very beautiful.
I love it. Speaking of picturesque postcard, you posted something the other day, maybe yesterday, I'm not sure, of a cowboy riding on a horse holding an American flag.
Yeah, so that was that's some of the, as you're traveling to Jackson Hole and to Yellowstone, there's some different kind of iconic places, and it's just, the cowboy represents the great state of the Wyoming, and then, wherever we can drip in that American flag and just really the patriarch of the country and stuff. We're a good hometown country kind of state, I guess you could say, and love our country deeply, and yeah, just a great state to be raised in and grow up. Like I said, the winters are a little harsh as you get older, but there's always ways to solve those problems.
So, Casey, everybody in my audience that's listened and heard you say Yellowstone, they have one thought. We think of Yellowstone. We've all watched the series. So I was afraid in the beginning. I was a little bit confused in my geography. I'm like, Kevin, Wyoming or Montana, Wyoming or Montana. But Yellowstone is based on Montana, correct?
Yeah.
Based on,
The
oh,
show,
that's based on, okay. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, the show is on Montana, but right there, Yellowstone really physically is like right on the border between Montana and Wyoming. So when you're driving through the park, you kind of cross both states. So they're just right there on the border. Just, like I said, definitely a bucket list adventure and place that you definitely need to see, because it's just breathtaking, outdoor, rugged mountains, beautiful trees, and wildlife everywhere.
Well, I love following you on social media because you and your husband have the most active and adventurous lifestyle. So if any of my New York audience is listening to this and you've seen Yellowstone, but you can't see yourself in Wyoming because you don't think there's much to do, Casey, take me through the last couple of weekends. You and your husband are always, he's racing cars. You guys are outdoors. You have this amazing lifestyle. Talk about what a typical date weekend, or I don't know if I call it a date because you guys are super active. Talk to me about some of the things you guys do for fun.
Yeah, in Wyoming, it's all about being able to be outdoors. I grew up hunting, fishing, riding four-wheelers out in the back country, and so my husband grew up in Wyoming also. So he's an adventure seeker. He keeps me young and he keeps me going. And it's always, we both share a love, of passion of finding a new place to visit, or checking out a new restaurant in a different area. So we do a lot of that. We do a lot of, going out to the lake, and he's a jet ski racer. So whether he's practicing and I'm doing some yoga, or we're combining both of the two skills together, I think that that's the biggest way that, that we're staying young and healthy and passionate about, our crafts and what we do is we stay active, and we're always up to something. We're always looking for a new place to travel around the state and then outside of the state too.
I love the adventurous spirit. I love the adventurous spirit. Um, let's talk about insurance for a little bit. 2003, 2018, you're owning, operating one of the largest Allstate agencies in the great state. Um, but talk to me about in Wyoming, what is important? I'm in this business almost 4 decades. I've never sold a policy in Wyoming. What are some of the unique risks that clients face there that you absolutely, a coverage that they just have to have to weather the winters in Wyoming or the summers? What natural disasters do you face?
What's really cool about Wyoming and, dipping into the insurance industry is we were always a low risk state. So while there was a lot of stuff going on around us, tornadoes and hurricanes and all of that, fortunately, Wyoming doesn't experience any of that. So the most hazardous type things that we see is driving in winter conditions, because, Wyoming's a big state. So you're traveling, easily 60 plus miles to and from commuting to work daily on, windy, icy roads below 10 degrees, snow, all of that kind of stuff. So that's kind of the most risky type of things that we kind of see. And a lot of deer, a lot of hitting wildlife, unfortunately, on the road. So that comp and collision come in handy, especially during the winter months in Wyoming.
I could imagine. And one thing that's giving me butterflies in my stomach while we speak, you probably take it for granted being born and raised in Wyoming. But am I wrong to think that it's a mountainous area with a lot of cliffs and a lot of single lane highways, and you got to be comfortable driving and not always able to see around the corner?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of that. And, during the winter, like a lot of those roads just completely shut down. So if it's a bad storm coming in or whatever, it's like, wherever you're at, you're stuck because that road is shut down and you're not going to get through. They even do that, on our major interstate coming through Wyoming, I-80. There's a lot of times where, there's truckers hauling things from different states, and they completely put the guardrail down, and like nobody's getting in and nobody's getting out. And so those truckers are just kind of hanging out in their rigs on the side of the road, lines and miles of lines of these truckers. So yeah, it's some definitely some dangerous driving, summer and winter, but winter definitely a lot more than summer.
All right, Casey, I'm going to switch subjects because to think about an 18-wheeler being stuck, not good for Kevin. Not good for Kevin.
Yeah, it's so true. And imagine 100 18-wheelers, back to back on the side of the interstate being stuck. Yeah, it's crazy. And what's even crazier is when they open the road, getting all those truckers and stuff being able to go through. That's even a little bit more dangerous to be in that when they've opened it.
It's not good for me, Casey. That's not good. I'll bucket list it, but I got to come at a better time where I can't have that exposure. Yeah. Hey DJ, what's up? I'm in the middle of recording the podcast.
I know, man.
Yeah. So this guy, we want to talk about something different. He's trying to get his website and his Google My Business page going.
Yeah, I know.
Everybody knows you helped me to get to the 2 Comma Club, and be seen by a couple of million people. But this person wants to do something different. They're trying to run ads to their book of business, their model line campaigns and stuff like that.
I know, Kev.
Oh man. Well, DJ, talk to the people, man, so I can get back to the podcast. How can you help?
Yeah, man. So listen, I can help you by running monoline ads to your auto, your home, as well as optimizing your website, your Google business profile, and your social media outlets. We can do the exact same thing we've done for Kevin over the years and get you in front of millions of sets of eyeballs to help you grow your business. Contact Carroll Media today. Kev, let them know.
DJ, I appreciate you jumping in the podcast. Hit up Carroll Media. DJ, I gotta go. I gotta get back to the podcast.
I know.
But speaking of travel, this time last year, you and I are in Cancun. We're at a very, very nice event. And you tell me a little bit of your backstory, which is very interesting. And then I'm on your website this morning, and literally you have it there. So I'm going to read you something from your website, and I just want you to talk about it. Okay. You said, I started my journey as a broke, single mom with zero business experience over 20 years ago. I know what it's like to feel scared, desperate, and confused.
Yeah, that takes me back to the day, man. It's not often that you hear that statement read back to you, but that takes me back to the day. And it was just, I was working in an insurance agency for someone else. I was answering phones. I was making $7 an hour. Found myself, unfortunately, divorced with a young daughter, and was like, you know what? You got to figure this out. You got to take some big risks. You got to figure this out. This opportunity came. I applied for the position. I was told no at first. I kept on it, and the right person connected with me and was able to get me to be able to become an Allstate agent. And so, yeah, I dove into that first day, not having a clue about, I knew how to work in the agency and answer phones, but the business back end part of it, which I think that a lot of agents, don't realize how much goes into that on the back end. That was a shock to the system, but I always say there's nothing more determined than a single mom that's got to make it happen for, her babies and her kids at home. And so it's just, dove right in, made things work, learned as I went. Before I knew it, I was opening my second agency, diving into that. Before I knew it, I grew into 3, and then just really was using that for a platform to dive into that entrepreneur journey. But yeah, what a wild ride.
It's a beautiful ride. So give me your thoughts on this. You and I coach and mentor agents, different capacities, sometimes similar. And one of the things that most agents across company lines, Allstate, Independent, State Farm, doesn't matter, they have trouble finding is staff. I always recommend 2 candidates. I always recommend looking at a local community college for a student. And I always recommend looking in Facebook mom groups for a single mom. What are your thoughts about that?
100%. And, throughout my agency career, when I could give a single mom that opportunity, even with no experience, because you and I both know that sometimes, like someone coming into the industry, it's better for them not to have the education and experience, because you can train them the right way that, is successful, and you're not having to break old habits and patterns. So I just say, like, single moms are one of the toughest, strongest people out there. They've got the drive and the motivation because they don't have anyone else to lean on. Like, they've got to make it happen. So I think that there's a lot that you can do when you've got someone with that fire under them. You can train all the rest of the stuff as long as you've got that drive and that motivation and that fire and passion. Then you can make it be anything you want it to be.
I love it. I'm going to read one more thing to allow the audience to connect with you a little bit more. And I want you to, we're still speaking to the single mother. You said, I was determined to be an example for my daughter, so I hit the ground running. Since then, I have scaled over 10 businesses of my own, including 3 award-winning insurance agencies, and I've helped hundreds of business owners do the same. I know what it takes to start with nothing and turn it into an empire.
Yeah. Wow. You're bringing out all the feels today, Kevin. Dang. Usually people don't bring those out in me, but it's, it's, I just feel like when I started, I was like, I have this young daughter. I want her to be able to see me as an example and a leader, and that even though life doesn't go the way you plan, because I'm a planner, like I had my life planned out. Like I was like, it's going to like fit in these boxes and this is the way it's going to go. And I had, in my mind, it was completely planned, and life, as you know, does not happen that way. So I just wanted to really be an example for her that even though things happen that are hard and challenging, then sometimes those are meant to happen so you can grow into the person you're supposed to be, and that's what gives you your strength and your wings, and makes you kind of fly. So that was my leading driver. It still is. And now I've got granddaughters that takes that meaning to a whole different level, and that's really what my driver is these days.
I love it. I love it. Being a fellow grandparent, my decisions, being a grandparent of 3, my decision matrix is not really anything I do about me anymore. My youngest grandson is a little bit over a year old, and I wonder how the decisions I make today will impact him and his life. So it takes you to another place when you get here. So let's fast forward to today. We've dropped into all the fields. We're going to get past the valleys. We're going to the top of the mountain now. So fast forward, you have caught fire. Middle of 2024, you put on a women's conference and you bring in phenomenal women agents from across the country. Let's talk about it. Tell me what the backstory was, how you got there, and then tell me what it felt like after you executed the vision.
Yeah, I mean, amazing experience. I'm all about my women's community and helping build, just spaces and rooms to where women can come together and feel empowered and be able to be vulnerable to get the transformation that they need. But first agent only, female agent only event in June 2024. It was absolutely amazing. A lot of transformation, and I brought out all of the glam, so it was unlike any insurance conference that these ladies had been to. But I just felt, it felt really full circle for me. Especially I hosted it in Denver, Colorado, which is where our region was when I was an Allstate agent, and I just remember going back to the day, driving to the Allstate regional office to apply for the position and take the test to be an Allstate agent. And they told me, no, I couldn't do it. I didn't pass it or qualify on some metric or something. And so, when I was up there doing the opening for that, I had to take a moment and just really go back to that space of like driving to Denver, Colorado with no money. I don't even remember how I got the gas money to drive there, because it was like a 6-hour drive, and be told no. But now, to have that Allstate journey and to be able to sell, and now to host events to where I'm bringing other female agents together to share my story and help them learn and grow. It was like a huge pinch me moment, and I'm still running on a high from it.
I love it. And you gave me 2 things I have to delve further into. 6 hours, God knows where the gas money came from. and they tell you no, was there a test? Did you take anything, or was it just next? Is anybody else here?
Yeah, it was some like evaluation type thing that they used to do, like
Yes.
agent
Okay.
screening. So it was some type of evaluation. So I go there, I take the test, and then of course you have to wait like a week or something. It felt like 10 years for them to say, you're not there yet, you're not ready. So that was kind of the stuff, is like I didn't pass the metrics for them to, feel like I was confident or whatever enough to be an all-state agent. So I was told no at first, but I went back and took that sucker and got in.
Yes. When you said sucker, you were right back in that place, ready to fight, ready to press forward. Hey, Ray, what's up? I'm in the middle of shooting a podcast here.
Hey, what's going on, man?
Nothing, man. I'm talking to a couple of my guys. They're struggling with all this new stuff, man. It's taking them 20, 30 minutes to fill out a quote sheet.
That's way too long, man. I think we can help.
You sure, man? They're trying to do different stuff. They're trying to do like X-Day campaigns. They're cross-selling. They want to follow with people they meet at networking events.
Yeah, well, Canopy Connect, you just send them a link. What is that? You can text it to them. You can put it on your business card as a QR code, scan that up, and all they have to do is click on that link, find their carrier, their insurance carrier, and sign into it. And we're gonna go in and grab all the information you need to get a quote, all their policy information, their deck pages, drivers, vehicles, and enrich that with property data. We get all that stuff, right? So you don't have to spend 30 minutes on the call. It's all easy.
Well, shut the front door. Enough said. Guys, you heard it right here. Stop going old school. Use Canopy Connect. Thanks, Ray. I got to get back to the podcast.
Got it. See you.
You talked about the conference. You said you bought out all the glam. So for all of us, including me, who was not there, give a description. Some people are going to listen to this. They're going to watch it, but they're not going to see it. I saw some of the pictures from it, but let's describe the glam. Let's make the ladies and the gentlemen feel what was in that room and how you made those ladies feel.
Yeah, the glam, as far as like everything on the table, was very high end. Everybody had personalized journals. Everybody had bling pens. We had swag booths so the ladies could shop. We're getting ready to do our conference again this year in June. And, I've got like a personalized hat bar coming so you can build your own hat and jewelry and all of the things. So like I said, it's unlike any conference that most agents experience, but I like doing high level things that make an impact. And hopefully the ladies there, they felt like they kind of just, took it up a notch, not only with themselves confidently, but their surroundings, and were able to kind of feel like a queen for the day.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. They say people will forget what you said, but they'll never forget how you made them feel.
Yeah.
So that's beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you.
So let's talk about BYA marketing. I see you're helping a lot of agents with their content. Talk about the origin stories and tell me some of the things you're working on now.
So BYA marketing is my COVID baby. So I sold the agencies in 2018, started doing some in-house retreats with agents flying in and doing retreats. I remember I had another one set in March of 2020. And I started getting these cancellations for, these retreats. And I'm thinking, what the heck's going on? And that was when the world was shutting down and flights were being canceled and all of that kind of stuff. So I didn't, going through that, I had booked out through June on these retreats, but we didn't know if things were going to open back up or what that was going to look like. Everything's shutting down. It was a crazy, scary time. So during that, it's like, I need to pivot. I need to do some things online of what I'm offering and how I'm helping agents. And so I kind of hunkered down and did a lot of training on memberships and platforms and all of that kind of stuff, and rolled out Brand Your Agency Marketing in August of 2020 and started just with some daily content, helping agents create daily content, and had a library, but soon they were like, I'll pay you more. Can you just do this for me? So it's just kind of grown and developed from there. But BYA is my COVID baby that happened in kind of like a back shop in August of 2020.
I love it. And the baby is 5 years old now. So let's dig into the why. Literally, the pandemic is the pivot point from how we do business.
Mhm.
Zoom, social media existed pre-pandemic, but post-pandemic or during the pandemic, that's when it went from something that was available to something that we had to do. So let's talk about your aha moment of being aware and how it's helped agents transition their agencies from the traditional model of, gazillion dollars on direct mail, a gazillion dollars on leads, to branding yourself so people think I'm buying from Casey Kuckert, I'm buying from Kevin Spann, or whoever it might be, as opposed to I need to walk in to see the name of this brand company hanging outside.
Yeah, absolutely. It's grown and it's evolving every day. And I'm so excited that agents are starting to think outside of the box more. I think that when I'm working with agents, that's usually the biggest pivot transition point that I'm having to work with them, is they think that it has to be very cookie cutter and structured. And so I really try to, train and work with them. Like, people really want to know who you are. We want to know who you are, what you're doing, how you're involved in the community, how you're giving back. People are interested in that, and that really increases that know, like, and trust factor. So I'm glad that this is starting to really trend for insurance agents. They're looking for different ways to do business and connect with customers and use it as a lead opportunity, as one of their lead vendors. Social media, there's so much opportunity with it. So bringing that personal brand in on their personal pages is, I think that I say this all the time, that the agents that are really starting to get on board with this and drive that are going to take over the agents that are dragging their feet and being intimidated by it and don't want to, be old school with everything and not want to get on board. I think those ones that are jumping in with both feet are going to take over the ones that aren't, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, absolutely. More than 70% of searches for insurance start online. So having a strong social media presence, building an overall digital ecosystem is imperative for all agencies. So let's talk about your newest venture. Let's talk about She Leads Insurance Network. What's that all about?
She Leads really is just a rebrand of all the women's community stuff that I've been doing for, since really I sold my agency. So when I sold the agencies, I started dipping into, building women communities and getting them training and resources, and was really heavy in the female entrepreneur space. But I've rebranded that this year and done it exclusive for not all state agents, but female agents across the country. Doesn't matter what their carrier is, but it's really about, being able to give them access to tools and resources. And, as females, we're driven differently than males. We lead differently. We learn differently. So it's really creating that platform for female agents to be able to grow and thrive. And most importantly, we love connecting with each other. We love that power of that connection and rooting for each other and telling each other that we've got it. So we have a mastermind, we have mastery sessions. We're getting ready to do our big event in June again, our annual event. And we have an international mission trip each year. So we're getting ready to go to Belize in just a few weeks in March.
I love it. All right, we're going to break that. We're going to break a lot of that down. Phenomenal answer. Female entrepreneurial space. I love that you said that. You also said not just all state insurance agents. Female entrepreneur space. Some of the fastest growing new businesses are being created by women. Are you serving any other verticals outside of insurance?
With She Leads, we've rebranded, so it's just insurance. So it doesn't matter if it's property casualty, health, life insurance, whatever that is in the carrier. I have, carriers in there from MetLife, Safeco, Hartford. So, but it's niche down to women in insurance this year. And I just, it's just kind of like, that's where my background is. That's where my knowledge is. That's where my sweet spot is. So I've taken my insurance background and then also my love for women in events and communities and combine those together and really niche down to helping agents this year.
Okay. So I'm going to go off script and speak something into you. The other female business owners in other fields are going to be coming for you.
Well, I have experience in that, so I'm ready for that too.
Good. So you said something I want you to expand upon. You said females lead differently. Talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I always say this, especially like on our masterminds and stuff, as a female agent, when we're writing a policy or selling a policy, we're not just selling that policy. In the back of our mind, we've got, what kid needs picked up at 3:30? Where am I taking that kid? Who else needs picked up? Did I put dinner in the crock pot? Is that ready? What about the dry cleaning? Is it time to pick up the dry cleaning? So we're wearing a lot of different hats during the day in the agency and outside of the agency. So I've always just thought, getting into the insurance space, it's like there's a lot of, we love our guy agents and our guy conferences. But there's something to be said for just bringing in some powerful female leaders and just saying, like, how do you do work-life balance? Does it even exist? How are you making all of the balls stay in the air as you're juggling things all day long and every day? So it's really creating space for us to just have an open platform to talk about that, and for them to not feel alone, and for them to not feel like a failure if they're, one day they're slipping up and the kid got left at school and, they didn't, and they missed the dry cleaning or they missed the softball game or whatever that is. So yeah, it's a different type of leadership and a different way that we learn and that we're motivated. And so that's what we're here to do, is really create change in the industry and create some spaces for women to learn and grow.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Here's a simple but obvious question that I should have asked earlier. When you became an agent way back in 2003, how many other women in Wyoming were insurance agents that you could go to help deal with balance and being a single mom and a new business owner?
I don't even think there were zero. There were not. I don't think there were any agents to go to, any female agents to go to, actually. Yeah, I mean, I guess the agent that I worked for and that I transitioned out, so one, but yeah, it's the ratio is that is growing. I posted a stat the other day, and it was like, 60% of females there's about 60% of females in the space in the industry, but only 19% of them are in that leadership or agent role. So we do find that a lot of times, the females are being the admin executives and, working in the agency and that kind of stuff, but they're not on that agent level. So yeah, that's what we're here to do, is just create some change and confidence, so people really, or women really, step into that and own who they are and create change. I always say that, when a female makes money, she changes the whole community, because we're givers and we want to give and help everybody and sponsor and all of that kind of stuff. So it's really been an amazing journey.
I love it. I love it. So if there's a female in any part of the country that feels first, only, and different, She Leads Network is a place that she can go.
Absolutely. We'll welcome you with open arms, and several different ways pass for you to learn and just be part of our community and connected. We did at the first of the month, Judy Wiggins out of Texas. She's an agent. She did a step up challenge. So we were all just encouraging everybody to get their steps in for the week. Next week, we're doing a self-love challenge because it's Valentine's week. So it's important to remember to, nurture yourself, because you're holding many hats and running all of the things. So yeah, we do a lot of fun stuff.
Let's talk about that. I want to go a couple of places. Let's go with shout out to Judy Wiggins, phenomenal agent out of Texas, good friend. Let's talk about self-love. We are a week away from Valentine's Day this year. When you listen to this podcast, it'll be much later when you see it in practice. Self-love for a business owner, and let's say the person happens to be single, and what is some good self-love ideas that they can take care of themselves and feel rewarded and acknowledged, and they have a great Valentine's Day for themselves if that doesn't come from anyone else?
Yeah, I always say, and these are some of the challenge points for our daily challenges next week, is that sometimes it doesn't, self-love doesn't have to look like, and self-care like going to get a massage or taking a nice bubble bath. Sometimes it's like taking some time to narrow down your goals and to plan your future and what are some of the things that you want to accomplish for the year. It can look like making a vision board for yourself, and what are some of the things that you're wanting to really strive for this year and then 5 years from now, and what do you want that to look like? So a lot of times I say like that self-love is really like stopping and taking a minute, 30 minutes or an hour to really define who you are, what you're passionate about, what leads you, what motivates you, and what really your purpose is and what you're wanting to grow into and make happen on this, short time that we have in this life. So a lot of times, at least for me, that's kind of like self-love for myself, is diving into goals and big dreams and dreaming big and thinking outside of the box.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Insurance business, women or otherwise, 20 plus years later since you started, built very successful, sold your agencies. What would you say to a woman that's listening to this and thinking about getting into insurance now and owning and operating her own agency?
I would say there's no perfect time. You just have to do it. Jump in with both feet and go, full force forward ahead. It doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to have it all figured out. Life doesn't happen that way. So the main thing is if you're looking for something that can be a very rewarding career that you can grow and make as much as you want to make, just dive in and start doing it, and don't think that it all has to be planned. I think that a lot of times when I'm working with clients, they think that they have to have all the steps in place and everything planned out, and it's like you have to have some sort of an idea, but you're gonna figure that out as you go, and you're gonna learn as you grow, and you're gonna make it happen, and that's how we grow and develop.
How do you I love it. Talk about working with clients. I talk to a lot of people that want to do more digitally. They want to have a social media presence, but they say they're not that kind of person. I don't see myself pointing my phone at me and recording videos. What are those early conversations like with new clients when you're getting past that journey and getting past that own wall that they have in front of themselves? Maybe they're an introvert. How do you talk them past that? Or what are some of those conversations like?
Look, this is going to be one step at a time. You're not going to dive all the way into creating, a video every single day of teaching and educating. This is going to be one step at a time. And I always kind of say, like, content creation and social media, it's like working that muscle in your brain. So it's like the more you work it, the more confident you become, especially when you have someone helping you with strategies. So it's just about taking that first step of saying yes, and then working at it one step at a time. And then that starts evolving. And I say this all the time. Like when I look back to a few years ago, the first video I created, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't even believe that I posted that. That was so horrible, that video. But that's where you have to start. Like there's no shortcut in order to build that muscle and to be confident. You kind of need to just start, learning and growing and taking it one step at a time. And then before you know it, it's like, okay, I'm doing a reel a day, sometimes 2 or 3, to really dial in my content strategy and to get into the algorithms. So that's the most thing, is like start somewhere, just start on one platform. Don't be jumping into everything all at once, because you're going to get overwhelmed and then you're going to quit.
Absolutely. Best go-to platform to start on?
I mean, it kind of depends on, where your audience is. So I always just say, like, where are you most comfortable right now? If that's Facebook, start on Facebook. If you're comfortable on Instagram and that's where you're hanging out, start on Instagram. So I always just kind of say, take the path of least resistance and what you're most comfortable in right now. And then we'll start building on top of that. So that kind of looks different between the age groups and how experienced the agents are. But yeah, I just start, the warmest is always the best, one thing at a time, and then grow into the others.
I love it. Casey, flashback 2024 Cancun. Your presentation, you had some phenomenal things that you shared about using social media for center of influence, relationship building, some phenomenal things you shared about giving back to the community. Can you talk about a couple of those ideas about how you can use social media to increase your presence in those spaces?
Yeah, absolutely. I was just, like I mentioned earlier, I was on a call with another agent and she's doing some things in the community where I was like, you need to be piggybacking that stuff that you're doing online, that stuff that you're doing in the community that you're, loved for and known for. That's content that you should be bringing that online and spotlighting that. So those two things are piggybacking off of each other. So that's kind of where I start when I start working with agents. That's one of the first questions. What are you doing in your community, and what kind of, what does that look like? Talk to me about that. If they're volunteering, if they're hosting lunch and learns, if they're centers of influencers or realtors or mortgage brokers or whatever, it's like, okay, now let's bring that online and spotlight what you're already doing, because that's already coming natural to you because you're doing that. So that's what I love doing, is making sure that those are piggybacking off of each other. And then I always say, whatever your personal brand is, make sure you're smearing that all over everything and anything in your community. So if you're, like a lot of times I'll go to a networking event, and instead of a business card, I'm handing out like a branding guide, Casey, the biz lady behind the scenes.
Nice.
So whatever you can brand as an asset to spotlight your brand, I say, take that to your networking events. You're going to stand out. Everybody's going to be like, wait a minute, what is that? What does she have?
Yes.
So those are a couple of tips that I help coach agents on. Just piggyback off of what you're already doing, and then making sure you're taking your brand assets and you're putting it everywhere.
I love it. My social media strategy is very simple. Be authentic.
Mm-hmm.
Only post about things that I actually do. What are your thoughts on that?
100%. And look, that's the meaning behind your personal brand, is being you and being authentic, because that's how you're going to, attract your tribe and connect with people. So yeah, that's one of the things that it's like, if some agent is like, I want my stuff to look like, so-and-so's and wherever, it's like, okay, well, that's not how this works. We're going to dial into who you are. And that's what we're going to spotlight, because we really want for you to be showing up authentically online. So your brand is in alignment for who you are. And then that makes it, easier to increase that know, like, and trust factor, and to be able to do business with people.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Casey, are you working harder now than you were when you were running your agency?
Absolutely. Absolutely. But guess what? I love every minute of it. Like if someone said you have to give up one of the things, what would it be? I'm not going to give up anything. Like, I absolutely am passionate and love every single thing that I'm doing. I love helping agents and helping them grow. And, I really do believe that all of the stuff that I went through and the, prior insurance background has helped me today to be able to kind of give back and help other agents so they don't struggle as much. So yeah, I'm working harder than ever, but love every single minute of it.
I love it. I love it. Uniform question I ask every guest. After all this hard work helping everybody else, how does Casey wind down at the end of the day?
The end of the day, I love taking a good drive, just a good drive, listening to some music, catching a sunset. I'm a huge sunset chaser, so I love doing that. Always kind of researching and finding where my next adventure is going to be, or the next place I want to travel. So, but yeah, there's nothing better than just, taking a drive on a Wyoming road that's not busy and catching the sunset. And it's like, okay, this is all worth it.
I love it. By your reels, you have a very eclectic taste in music. You go from hip hop to rock and everything in between. What's in your playlist? What are you listening to today? What are you listening to now?
Gosh, I was posting, I think, on some of my reels today. It was a Katy Perry song. But then I love me a good Kenny Chesney country album. I'm pretty diversified. It's kind of funny. I'm a pretty introverted person and quieter person. Outside of social media and the events I do those events, but then I got to go like hibernate and recharge myself up. But when it comes to music, I'm kind of like all over the place, depending on the mood.
Yeah, that's me. And I have that in common with you. People don't believe this when I say it. I'm loud digitally. Personally, I'm quiet. I prefer to just like laugh at the jokes that are being told by someone else. Mm-hmm. So, Casey, our mutual friend, Brooke Brolo, put you in an awkward position. She left my podcast with a cliffhanger, and she said you were going to announce something on the show. So there it is. That's the lead in. That's all I have for you. She said you're going to announce something. What is the big announcement? Brooke Brolo put it out there. It's on Brooke.
The lead-in, my partner in crime, as I call her all day, every day. So we are excited that we've been working hard behind the scenes, and we've been working on a podcast together. It's called Fearless and Focused. We've been recording content. We've got amazing agents that we've already interviewed. And our drop date, we're meeting with our podcast editor on Monday. So our drop date, we're going to announce that on Valentine's Day, next Friday, which is my birthday. We'll announce our drop date, and we're getting ready to just, it's another platform for connecting and sharing stories and being able to talk about things that are challenging for women in this space, in the industry. But we're going to have a lot of fun, and we're going to be very authentic with it too.
I love it. You heard it first on the Wind Down with Kev podcast, Fearless and Focused, the new podcast coming, co-hosted by Casey and Brooke.
Absolutely. Yeah. Co-hosted by us. So watch for the details in February on following our page and following in our first episode and all of that. We're going to drop that. If you've watched this after Valentine's Day, that's when we're dropping it, is on Valentine's Day.
Beautiful. What page should they be following?
Follow me and Brooke's socials. We're both big on social. So Casey the Biz Lady on Instagram and Facebook. And then Brooke is just under her name. So Brooke Brolo on Instagram and Facebook too. So that's where we've been doing a lot of teasers and fun reels behind the scenes, and all of that kind of stuff is just on our personal brand pages.
I love it. So Casey the Biz Lady is CASEY, the spelled phonetically BIZ Lady. At Casey the Biz Lady, Brooke Brolo, BROOKBROLO, at both of them. So I love it. Super excited for you guys. Can't wait to hear all the stories that you are going to share. So, Casey, I like to close my podcast, Wind Down with Kev. It's also, the subtitle is the Dream Chaser Podcast. I would like for you to leave an encouraging word to maybe a woman or someone else that wants to go in business. Maybe they're not there yet, struggling a little bit with confidence. If you could share some encouraging words, I would greatly appreciate it.
I would say my encouraging words are: take the risk, bet on yourself. You're never going to regret it. Like at the end of this lifetime, like what would you rather have? A bunch of lessons and experiences, or a what if? So I'm a big person on take the risk. You're going to figure it out. Go all in. You won't regret it. And really, it's up to you to make things happen. Nobody's going to do it for you. So jump in and go for it.
Ladies and gentlemen, Casey Kuckert, wonderful advice. And thank you all for tuning in to another episode of Wind Down with Kev. If you like the content that you heard here today, please click the link below, like and subscribe so we can continue to give you great content like this. And a big shout out, big thanks to our sponsors, Carol Media and Canopy Connect. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin.